What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome to my garage. Today we are talking about deep crankbait fishing, specifically color selection when it comes to deep cranks. What to buy, what to throw. Before we go any further, again, I just want to thank you guys for tuning into the video. And if you like my channel, please go ahead and subscribe. Give me a thumbs up. Comment down below. Let me know what else you'd like to see. But again, today we're going to be going detailed, in-depth about selecting deep crankbaits and why, when, and where I'm going to throw certain colors. So I'm going to start this out by saying, I do pay a lot of attention to color on baits that I'm fishing. I do think it's important, but I don't take it overboard. I'm not going to be a guy that's got 30 different colors of deep crankbaits in the boat. I'm going to have a bunch of different sizes and variations, different crankbaits that go different depths, have different vibrations, right? Some that wobble a lot wider and some that wobble a lot tighter, some silent ones, some with rattles. But color-wise, I have like 3, 4, 5, 6 colors that I really stick with. And even sometimes those are going to be interchangeable. So you'll find, what works for you. But I'm going to go through my system right here and let you guys know like kind of what I pick for when. And you can see laying out in front of me here, I've got 5 baits. Specifically, these 4 right here are almost going to cover it for me. I included this one, and I'll tell you why in a little bit. But really, I keep it really simple. And my first most important thing I look at when I'm selecting a crankbait, whether it's for deep or shallow, but we're talking deep here, the watercolor. If you've got, and it's very basic, right? Like you have clear water, a lot of times you're going to want a more natural color. In dirtier water, you're going to want a color that shows up better. Now, there are exceptions, and I find a lot of times when I'm fishing for smallmouth, you might have the clearest water you could even imagine, and those smallmouth will smack a bright color crankbait. But I'm talking more largemouth here. Clear water, I'm going to go with something more of a clear crankbait. Something like this green shad. This is a Dredger 17.5 from Berkeley, but you can see on this green shad, it's got a very natural kind of greenish sheen to it, but it's got a translucent side. And that translucent color is a big deal when you get into clearer water situations. A lot of times when you're fishing clear water, you're going to be fishing the bait a little bit faster in general, but especially if you're not fishing it faster, it's got to be a natural color. So that really is my go-to color on a lot of these bodies of water out west, but also, back east. This is a great color on the Tennessee River, like Gunnersville, Chickamauga, stuff like that. Gunnersville has been clearer than ever with all the eelgrass and stuff in it lately. So, a natural color like that, a green shad, a green gizzard, anything translucent. The ghost minnow type colors work really, really well in that situation. And then as you get into dirtier water, we're going to go to some colors that show up a little bit better. And before, let me back up real quick too. Clear water, everyone's got a different representation of what clear water is. For me, if you've got like more than 3 or 4 foot visibility, I would consider that clear. If you reel your crankbait up to your rod tip and stick your rod in the water, if it disappears after it's 3 feet underwater, I would say that's stained. If you could see more than 3 feet, I would consider that clear. And then dirty water, I would say, is like less than 2 feet. A great bass fishing color is that 2 to 3 foot visibility. That's a nice bass fishing stain. You get less than 2 foot visibility, I'm going to consider that fairly dirty. You get less than a foot visibility, that's muddy. And in muddy water, a lot of times the deep crankbaits come out of play because it's harder to catch bass any deeper than just a few feet of water when you have muddy water. There are exceptions, but typically you're going to have that ultra muddy water like in the winter and early spring, and you're going to want to fish shallow in those situations. So more than 3 feet visibility, green shad, green gizzard, ghost minnow, stuff like that. When you get that in between, a really good color is kind of a sexy shad color. This is called Sexy Back from Berkeley, and it's got a nice kind of powdery blue back, white sides, a very subtle chartreuse vein. I love the subtleness of that chartreuse vein. You kind of get a hint of it, but it's not overpowering. This is an awesome color in that mid-range, slightly stained stuff. It'll catch bass in clear water, but I'm going to reach for that more translucent color in real clear water. This is kind of a go-to in a lot of your standard slightly stained watercolors right here. Works awesome. It's kind of interchangeable with the citrus shad. Citrus shad's another awesome one. You know, these two right here, there's nothing better than fishing water where you can see 2 to 4 feet and cranking these two colors. You can see, if you lay them side by side, they're both bright, but they're not like a solid chartreuse or anything like that. They represent a shad really, really well, but they're bright enough to pop in that water that's not crystal clear. When you get into dirty water, we're talking like 2-foot visibility, chartreuse with a blue back. This is, it's another one. It'll work in some clear water situations, but when I get into, you know, dirty water, deep cranking situations, this is my go-to right here. I've caught so many fish on this color, and I think a lot of other pros and avid anglers would say the same thing. And what I love about this one right here, again, is it's not like a goofy, hardcore, deep blue on the back. I love that powdery blue. And the chartreuse isn't super, super overwhelming either. So chartreuse blue back for that. Berkley calls that blue chartreuse. And then, you know, as time goes on, you know, everything gets better, right? Equipment gets better. Paint jobs are getting better on the baits. And this is a new series from Berkley called the Dime series. In my last video, you watched me cranking with the Dime 15 out at Apache Lake, catching a couple fish. This is that same color in the Dime 10. And this is actually called HD blueback herring. It's based off of a herring, but man, it looks a lot like a shad too, especially, you know, when you're winding that crankbait through the water real quick. You know, those fish they're not going to say, hey, that's not a shad, that's a herring. They're just going to eat it. So if you can throw a beautiful color like this, you may as well. But again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to line these up side by side. You know, and it's more or less the same tones. This is a much more detailed, you could say a prettier version, but it's the same tones. It's a white side and a solid white side, not a translucent white side. So, you know, that's going to work kind of in those in-between water clarity situations. But I'm really going off water clarity here. And this is a shad deal, right? Like fish that you're catching, deep cranking, sometimes they're eating some crawfish, but most of the time, this time of year, the summertime, these fish are targeting shad. So a lot of shad imitators here. That's what a crankbait is. A lot of times it's a shad imitator. So I'm trying to throw colors that match shad. But yeah, don't go crazy with the colors. You know, it's real easy to have it's fun. It's fun buying crankbaits. You know, there's some baits that I joke with one of my friends. You know, some stuff's fun to buy and some stuff is like, oh, I got to buy a fishing line. I got to buy hooks. That stuff's expensive and it's not cool, flashy stuff like a crankbait. It's fun to go buy crankbaits and put them in a tackle box. But I keep it simple. And one advantage to that is if you are like me and you're carrying only 4, 5, 6 colors, it allows you to put 3, 4, 5 of the same crankbait in your crankbait box. So like I've got a deep crankbait box for example, my 17.5 and my 20.5 Berkley dredgers. That box is only going to hold, I don't know, 25 crankbaits, something like that. So if you have 25 different colors, you know, you can only fit one of each color and you start catching fish on something, you're building confidence in it on that specific day on the water, and then you lose it. And you know, kind of messes you up. So, hey, it's no big deal. If you've got 4 or 5 of the same color in your tackle box and you lose one, you just bust out another one, right? And you're back to fishing the same thing. So anyways, that's kind of my system. I'm going to keep this video pretty short, guys. I'm going to be back on the water next week with an on the water video, but thanks again for watching, for tuning in. Again, please subscribe, and we will be back at you guys soon. Thank you.